Little bit of Tank Dell concern after the report today was a little bit vague about him likely, recovering from his potential gunshot wound, which was said to be very minor, but then some clarifying comments of like, he's still going to have to rehab. He'll be fine. Those kind of things kind of spark a little concern because we're not being told where he was injured or where he was shot. Nobody's letting us know the details of that. So we kind of have to not avoid Tank, but tread lightly. And, I comb through the comments, I comb through all the posts, and there's speculation, but we don't know where he was shot. What if he was shot in the hamstring? What if he was shot in the bicep? What if he was shot in the hand? We don't really know, but more to come on that. But tread lightly on the Tank Dell situation. This was one of the most recent reports. Texans owner Cal McNair said Monday that receiver Tank Dell will make a full recovery after being wounded in a shooting at a Florida restaurant/club last month. And again, the clarifying other commentary was surrounding he's still got to do his rehab and get right. And I think that might be toward the rehab of his leg still, and that this maybe set a little bit of an obstacle or a pause on his rehab. But just the unclarified, direction of this thing just leads us to a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a pump the brakes if you're taking him around 3. I love that Tank Dell has dropped into round number 4. That's a very comfortable space to grab Tank Dell. I'm okay with that, but I'm just saying, just tread lightly in terms of like piling your rosters up with Tank Dell shares to the rafters in every single best ball draft that you're doing on Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty, where we'll do some drafting probably tonight on the channel. So hit this link right here and sign up ahead of time. I just dropped it in the live chat. It's in the description of the video if you're watching the replay. But that's all I'm going to say about this. Not saying avoid them. Not saying there's anything really to panic over in extreme fashion. But the fact that we're not being told where the injury is, and the fact that he's still got a rehab, what does that mean? Does that just mean his leg? What does that mean? No one's really being clear about it. So we got to pump the brakes a little bit on this situation until we know a whole lot more. There's so much news to get after today. Dak Prescott, there's some news on the Dak Prescott front. Dak Prescott, the news is there's no news. The news was, the most recent news prior to today was that Jerry Jones himself said, "You don't think I'm working on this day and night? You don't, what world would I not be up day and night answering emails in the middle of the night trying to get a contract extension done with Dak Prescott, which would lead to a CeeDee Lamb extension. They can't do a CeeDee Lamb extension until they do the Dak Prescott extension and free up that $50+ million that Dak's getting this year. So they need to move that money around a whole bunch. This would have afforded them the ability to re-sign Lamb and maybe even bring in an RB. Because ESPN and everybody's reporting that the reason the Cowboys today, this all came out today, and we all know this is true, the reason the Cowboys didn't go hard after an RB is they didn't have the money allocated for it. That's an excuse. All you have to do is sign Dak, extend Dak. It's the right move anyway. You can't replace Dak. There's no quarterback sitting out there that's better than Dak. I know Dak hasn't been winning the big game, but he's been electric during the season. He's been dropping amazing numbers during the year, and it's the team as a whole. It's having no running game, no support to help Dak when Dak can't carry consecutive games into the playoffs, just like Lamar couldn't carry and can't carry consecutive games in the playoffs by himself. Eventually, you're going to get stopped if you're all by yourself. Josh Allen, same thing. Josh Allen, all by himself. No running game. They don't run the ball at all. Those are problems that might not go away for the Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys because they're not solving the running back situation. Guess who did? The Atlanta Falcons, the Baltimore Ravens bring in Derrick Henry and solve the problem. Now Lamar's got support. Jalen Hurts can't carry the team the entire way. Swift fell apart at the end of the year. They rode this guy like a horse between the tackles, and Swift's not built that way, and Swift started to deteriorate. And now he goes to Chicago, probably broken, just so you know. I'm not in on Swift at all. Swift was abused between the tackles last year. He had a horrible finish to the year. He broke down tremendously. So they're getting a broken vehicle over there in Chicago. I'm not touching Swift. But they bring in Barkley. Now they bring in Barkley. Now Hurts has support. Dallas doesn't do that. Then they blame Dak. You can't replace Dak. Dak's the best thing they can get. Just like the Cardinals. Did the Cardinals want to get rid of Kyler Murray at one point? Yeah, they did. And did I even sound very critical? And I was very critical about giving him his contract too early, his extension too early, because he needed support. And now they bring in support. Kyler's going to have huge success in Arizona because the Cardinals finally surrounded him with talent. And Dallas is not doing that. They've got CeeDee Lamb, go long, CeeDee Lamb, go long, CeeDee Lamb, go over the middle, CeeDee Lamb here, CeeDee Lamb there. Now they're bringing in Zeke Elliott. Are you out of your minds? In this report from ESPN's Jane Slater, after Jerry Jones in a press conference was like, you don't think I'm working on an extension? After he said weeks prior, we're just focused on 2024. We'll worry about 2025 and 2025. The guy's out of his mind. The guy's lost all of his marbles. He has no marbles left up in the noggin. There's nothing there. Because one moment he says one thing, the next moment he says another, and then this report dropped today from Jane Slater that says absolutely no new discussions. Nothing has progressed. And so we're sitting here looking at a Dallas Cowboy team that is walking into a final year of Dak Prescott. They have no ability to franchise tag him because he has a no franchise tag clause in his contract. They have no ability to trade him unless he approves the trade because there's a no trade clause, which he would gladly accept because the receiving team would never trade for him unless they gave him a contract extension or it wouldn't be worth the draft capital. So you bet your bottom dollar he'd accept almost any trade anywhere because it would come with a big fat payday. And at the end of the day, that's all Dak really wants. That's all a lot of players really want. But according to this ESPN report, there's no movement at all. Absolutely no new discussions, according to this Jane Slater from ESPN. Nothing has progressed. Nothing has progressed. Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Therefore, this Cowboy team is on the way down. Therefore, Dak Prescott is very vulnerable to leave as Cousins was and was an entire offseason because he was not made to feel like first choice. So he wanted to go test the market. And so that's what Dak's going to do. And maybe Dak wants to go back home to Dallas. Maybe they win and they feel really good and there's risk involved in that, right? If Dak goes out and blows up, Cowboys have no ability to hold him. He's gone if he wants to go. And if he does well, he'll get the bank from the Raiders. He'll get wined and dined like Cousins was, and he will leave. If Dak doesn't do amazing but does good enough, and the Dallas Cowboys can't find their replacement, their draft pick isn't in a good spot and conducive to get an elite rookie incoming quarterback like Shedeur Sanders or whoever at the time in that pick, they will probably say, Dak, the market's not there for you. You didn't play out of your mind. You played okay. We know what we got. We'll sign you to an extension. We got more money now and freed up some stuff. That could go that way. But if he blows up, there's probably little to no chance he's returning because he'll be wined and dined by a team that needs his services that will overpay. And Dallas won't pay more than a team that doesn't have a quarterback that's starving like the Raiders or like the Giants. Dak will probably be somewhere else. And I hope he is. And I hope he does well. Problem is, we got to worry about CeeDee Lamb. Look at JJ. Look at the way JJ's value sank and still is down. He got drafted in the 11 and 10 overall selection on Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty in 2 drafts last night. 2 people sent me DMs of where JJ fell to 11. I think it was 11 and 12. JJ fell to 11 and 12 because no one knows what they're dealing with. And imagine if he had Sam Darnold. Okay, so if Dak ends up leaving and the Cowboys can't even replace him with the competent backup quarterback that comes in, what happens to Lamb's value in Dynasty? It's time to maybe hit the panic button on the CeeDee Lamb value. Not entirely.
Alert.
Not entirely.
Alert. Panic mode initiated.
But it's time to freak out a little bit. Why? Because his value will probably never be higher than it is right now. He is arguably the 1, 2, or 3 overall player. And I think nobody's staring the likelihood in the face, at least, that this could be a Dak Prescott-less team in 2024. It could be a headless horseman at the quarterback position. There could be no signal caller that's a gunslinger. Similar to how we don't know what the Vikings offense is going to look like. Without Kirk Cousins, it won't be the same offense. It can't be. And we don't know if JJM can even sling. He might be able to throw, but can he sling? Can he toss dimes all over the field? Is JJ going to get overfed? Because he needs to get overfed. There are a lot of mouths to feed. Addison, JJ, Hawkinson. This was such a good idea when it was a potent, overflowing riches of receptions and targets. But once you take Cousins away and you throw JJM in, a very restrictive QB, in my opinion, until he proves otherwise, Penix would have been the answer. But you throw JJM in here, who's a good quarterback, not saying he can't be good or efficient, but this is not some gunslinging monster that's going to replicate what Cousins and that offense were doing. So JJ's value goes down. Lamb's value is in flux to me in Dynasty, and I'm trading him on the high, not getting rid of him, not calling him a bust. We love CeeDee Lamb to pieces here on the channel. We have
get lambed.
We love Lamb. We love CeeDee Lamb. We love getting lambed up in here, okay? But there's a difference between loving CeeDee Lamb and being smart about selling high, getting into a Bijan, getting into an Achane and something, getting into a Kyron and something, getting into a St. Brown and something, getting into a Marvin Harrison Jr. straight up. There are ways to back out of the CeeDee Lamb operation in this world we're currently looking at. Now, Dak could get extended tomorrow. Make no mistake about it. This could be solved. Jerry's out of his mind right now, it appears, at least. That's my opinion. Jerry, in my opinion, is out of his mind. He doesn't know where he's walking. The thing, he's walking off the stage, doesn't know where to go. This guy's wandering around, meandering around, saying one thing one moment and another moment. He literally could say, let's sign Dak tonight. And so Lamb would be safe. So, in my recommendation to kick the tires on a CeeDee Lamb trade, understand what I'm saying. Don't go selling the man low. Don't go selling the man for dog water. Don't go reacting as if he's a bust candidate. Don't go trying to just trade him off to get rid of him because I did this live stream. Trade smart. Trade so smart that if we're wrong and Jerry Jones inks Dak to a long-term deal the day after or the minute after you make your trade, you are still 100% content with what you got because you bought 2 players that were underrated that you like just as much. In a worst case scenario, it's going to be even Steven at the end of the day. If you cannot say that about your trade, if Dak gets signed the very next minute, you did not make a good trade and Smitty would have not approved your trade.
You've just been Smitty disappointed.
So understand that, Dak Prescott, it's a very, very, very volatile situation with fantasy football values in flux across the board that are connected to this web of confusion and this dark cloud over Dallas right now that I don't think you're putting Dak or McCarthy, not extending Dak is pretty much shoving them out into the pasture. And I think you're putting both of these coach and quarterback situations in flux and putting the pressure on them in ways that I don't think is productive. And I'm worried that Dak folds and falls apart, or if he balls out, he's gone though. So it's like it doesn't, this is a worst case scenario. The best case scenario is Jerry wakes up tomorrow on the right side of the bed, walks over to his computer, turns it on and hits accept on a potential contract request offer. And it says send it, and Dak gets inked. That's the best situation. Him playing it out, I don't know. I don't think it can end well either way. He plays bad, that sucks for Lamb. He plays good, that's also Ziggy. Show me the front door. He plays good, then he's gone. Okay. Let's see who's at the front door. Is it the mailman? What is going on here? Okay, it looks like the mailman. Ziggy off. God, this is breaking news. Oh my God, breaking.
From the fantasy football.
Valdez Scantling is scheduled to visit. We talked about this yesterday, but I wanted to put the information on the screen. Valdez Scantling is scheduled to visit. Bob, this is the second time you've done this, Bob. I know you're in New Zealand, but I already yelled at you before. I'm in the middle of the monologue. I'm not answering the phone until the phone line number is on screen. We just literally screamed at you yesterday for it. As you called in and recommended a dead player that had already passed away. Bob, just calm down. We'll open the phone lines in a second. You are my boy, Blue, but we talked about this. Valdez Scantling scheduled to meet with the most mundane group of players, the biggest group of mids in fantasy, the Los Angeles Chargers. What a group this Harbaugh's putting together. I'm not a fan of the Harbaugh build. I'm sorry. You can say what you want. Get off my lawn. Harbaugh's going to put a good team together. Let me pull my britches up. Harbaugh's going to do a real good job. Hard-nosed football. Get off my lawn. Anybody supporting Harbaugh has got to be that kind of attitude and mentality at this point from a fantasy perspective. It's going to be hard-nosed Joe Alt, build from the trenches, Smitty. Valdez Scantling's going to be great. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, we're doing a real number on the league this year. Winning with the defense in the trenches. Maybe it works, but this is the Fantasy Football Show, pal. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show, brought to you by Smitty. Okay? And this show, see behind my head, the Fantasy Football Show, isn't keen on mundane wide receiver and running back rooms. And while I like Ladd McConkey, look, this is not the wide receiver room you want. It's just not. Herbert is like a 200-mile-an-hour race car that is asked to race against other 200-mile-an-hour race cars. And he's only allowed to drive 120 miles per hour. You put a governor and a limiter on his engine, gas pedal, and everything. His acceleration can only exceed 119 miles per hour. And he's got to go race 200-mile-per-hour race cars when he's capable of it, but he'll only be able to do just above 50, 55, maybe if he's lucky, 60% of dropping his talent on the field. Herbert's asked to play with one-hand drums at a church band and follow the beat of the music and nothing more when he's the best drummer in the building. He's the best drummer on the entire coast, and he's asked to go play drums for a church band. He can't unleash his Herbert. He can't unleash his goat or punch people in the throat. Herbert is limited. And this is going to be a very boring situation in LAC. It just is. There's no arguing it unless you're pulling your britches up and you're real upset about someone being on your lawn and you just want to come in swinging and defending the trenches. The trenches are where it's at. No crap. But how about you build from the trenches and draft wide receivers? You know what you could have done? You could have brought in, I don't know, a Jacobs or a Henry or a player like Barkley. And yeah, we didn't have the money. I don't want to hear you didn't have the money because running backs are about as expensive as a kicker. Restructure one contract. Why don't you restructure the punter and you'll get enough money to pay for an RB? Dumbest excuse in the world. Absolutely Smitty disapproved excuse. Not even allowed here. You can't say it. On top of that, if you're going to go Joe Alt, not that mad at it, really, if you're going to come in swinging, and let's say you get 2 Ladd McConkeys, okay, something, bring in something, but I don't understand what's going on here. Valdez Scantling, DJ Chark, J.K. Dobbins, Gus the Bus. Why not bring in Corum early? Just draft him. Why not bring in a Braylon Allen? Why not bring in some sort of talent? I don't get it. Numerical order locker rooms. Number 1 sits in the first seat. Number 2 or 5, whatever order. You don't even get to sit where you want. This is This is no identity. Football, you are just a number. You are just a person. You might not even have a job if you're the best player on the team. And some might say, I like that brand of football. Earn your starting job. This is the NFL, baby. This is also the fantasy football show. We don't really care about how great the trenches look if there's going to be no production from them from a consistent fantasy football perspective. We can have a debate if you want on the side, a la carte, about how this team might win under the Harbaugh way. Building from the trenches with mundane mids. We can have that conversation, and I'm open-minded to how Harbaugh might be able to pull this off from a winning perspective, but I really don't truly care about that at the end of the day, do I? No, because I'm not a Charger fan at heart. I'm here about the fantasy football aspect of it. Valdez-Scantling, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? This is I do a lot of positive reports, okay? A lot of, hey, Atlanta smash. Everybody talking about the Penix Jr. was a bad pick. I disagree with every single one of those people. I've made it as clear as can be. This is a genius move at the end of the day. This is a move that really Raheem Morris had talked about and game planned and architected back before Arthur Smith was even hired, because he also was interviewed and he said, one of my first plans of attack would create a succession at quarterback to make sure the best position, the most important position, was solidified. And Raheem Morris was correct. Arthur Smith came in and interviewed and said, we'll figure it out. And they said, let's go with Arthur Smith. I like his flying by the seat of his pants mentality. And that didn't work out so well, did it? So the second time around, after Arthur Smith is canned, they go up to him and they say, hey, you were right. And he says, I was right. You were right. Go do you. Go draft a second quarterback. Do whatever you got to do. Protect the most important position, and that is what we're doing here with Penix Jr. mixed with Cousins. I've spoken positively about this, and I will continue to. And anybody wants to say Penix Jr. was a bad pick, it's an F grade, a D grade, I say B at least. I don't think you can give it an A because of the allocation of resources is somewhat of a perplexing situation. But it's not bad. It's not bad, and it's a very, very calculated, risky, but high upside move. And so that's where you're going to have that give and the take. Like, would you have a better overall team with a DeJean, right? A DeJean or somebody like that, and then you had DeJean and I'm just throwing that face out there. He was a second rounder. He should have been a first rounder. Niners should have taken him instead of Parasol. Even though I love Parasol, they should have taken DeJean. But even if you threw a DeJean on the roster, let's just throw that name out there, or an edge rusher, whatever. If Penix Jr. is the real deal, are you getting a better overall lineup? Yes. But are you willing to sacrifice that edge rusher, or in the case of DeJean, and coach up the position, draft a better sleeper that you like, or a sleeper you like, coach it up, and double down on QB, secure yourself, make it look like you have a lesser team of allocated resources, but at the end of the day, you're a better team at the end of the day. You're a secure team. You're a better capable team to weather through anything. You're doubled up at the most important position that has hampered this franchise for how long? Ever since way before they were trying to get Deshaun Watson, and now they've solved it 2 times over. Positive talk from me from here on out. Except for right here, this is something we do need to speak to. This is awkward. One of the reasons Kirk Cousins left the Vikings was because of their intentions to draft a quarterback high in the 2024 NFL draft per Albert Breer. Kirk Cousins ended up signing with the Falcons, and then they draft Michael Penix Jr. 8 overall. So this part is I guess you could say, the bad implementation of this process. I don't think they ever were unsure about drafting Penix Jr. because, again, this has already been mapped out. This was a plan of attack that Raheem Morris had before he was ever rejected for the head coaching job when Arthur Smith was hired. But they didn't want to piss off Cousins in terms of him leaking. He was so hell-bent probably against this idea in his mind from this right here, this paints that picture, that they were scared that the cat would get out of the bag. Somebody would trade up and get Penix Jr. ahead of the Falcons. So at the end of the day, they kept it a secret, and it did create, I think, some animosity between Kirk Cousins and the organization. So there is a little bit of a rocky road and rough waters and a looking over his shoulder and a little bit of, I think, signer's regret, right? Signer's remorse for attacking the Falcons situation as his number one landing spot. If he had known this, I don't think he would have signed with the Falcons. So there is some sort of negative here if you were to break it down and saying that if your quarterback, if you point blank asked him, would you sign here if you knew this was going to happen? And he says no, then he doesn't really want to be there. So at the end of the day, he's set up for failure. His attitude, his drive, it's going to be a little bit off kilter. And you could say that maybe it drives him and he just blows up and puts it all behind him. Aaron Rodgers was pissed off too when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, but it didn't derail him necessarily. So there's a way that this doesn't do that as well. But I think that if we all believe Penix Jr. to be the superior long-term talent, he'll find a way to get in early. I think Penix Jr. hits the field by, I'll say, week 10. And doesn't relinquish the job, whether it's Kirk Cousins' calf injury that ends up opening the door and people say, well, what if he didn't have that? He's 36 years old, coming off an Achilles injury that's going to create potentially a compensation effect on the other leg that's going to have a calf strain at least on the other leg at some point during the entirety of the year or offseason. And so we will see some sort of protective. We got to shut him down, or we got to be careful with him, and he can't practice all week. And there's going to be something at 36 years old coming off an Achilles tear for this guy, I imagine. That's my guesstimation. And that opens the door even briefly to Penix Jr., and it's a disaster for Kirk Cousins. At the end of the day, it's still very, 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 very smart by the Falcons, but probably poorly implemented to not let him know up front what the plan was. And I think they were afraid he wouldn't sign, and they were probably right. So you could put some blame and onus on this entire staff for not maybe approaching it the correct way. 100%. Like that is an argument that I 100% understand, and that makes a whole lot of sense if you want to argue the negative side of that. This report here is Anthony Richardson is back. Let's do a standing O for that one. Good. It's nice to see Anthony Richardson out there slinging footballs and slinging dimes, and this is a Mars man extraordinaire. Let's put him on the screen
to Mars.
Look at this Mars man extraordinaire, Anthony Richardson to the freaking moon. Top 5 quarterback per start. The question is, will he get hurt? Always something you got to consider and worry about. This right here, this report, I have if you notice the question mark over Najee's head, there have been tons of Najee Harris. Could he get traded to the Dallas Cowboys? Rumors circulating. Jane Slater, the same individual above in the red, talking about no new discussions. Absolutely nothing has progressed on the Dak Prescott contract situation. Same individual from ESPN is saying on the Najee Harris Cowboys reports, team sources tell me it's clickbait. There's no legitimate interest by the Cowboys in Najee Harris. I will say this. I will say that of the 2 players I can come up with at the top of my head for potential midseason or even pre-week 1 trades would be one, Najee Harris, but this doesn't appear to be legit. But when you just try and kick around ideas, it's like, what team has a surplus? What team has shown that they may not have the full-time commitment or the long-term commitment to a player? Is, if the right offer came along, I'm sure they would look at this situation. But the one thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing that's phenomenal is they're doubling up on everything. And in a way, it's kind of like the Falcons, what they're doing with the quarterback position. And if I'm going to tout that, I'm going to tout this. I'm going to say that the offer for Najee, it would have to be an offer that the team couldn't refuse. Look, let me just make this point clear. Everybody is tradable, but maybe quarterbacks to some degree. Like, it's not like the Niners are just going to trade Brock Purdy if the best offer came along. Who's their quarterback? Not like the Cardinals are going to trade Kyler Murray. Is the quarterback getting swapped back? It'd have to be the most ideal type of situation. But everybody else is pretty much up for grabs in the context of somebody offers you an offer you cannot refuse. Debo, an offer that they can't refuse in San Francisco, he's gone. So the two players and Najee, what's an offer they can't refuse? Think about how the Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting right now. They've doubled up at wide receiver. They drafted a wide receiver. They drafted multiple players at positions they were already covered in. They've got Jalen Warren. They've got Najee. They've got Fields, and they've got Russell Wilson. I almost forgot his name. They've got double offensive linemen. Offensive lines off the hook. The defense has been, before the draft, they were making some moves. Like, this team is doubled up at everything. So you got to ask yourself this question again. Top of mind, what two players feel like they could be the most vulnerable if a team was willing to pay the price? It would be Najee and Debo. Problem is, are any teams actually willing to pay the price, or do they want to act like these guys can be had for nothing? Because I'll tell you what, Niners aren't giving up Debo unless somebody's overpaying, but they will consider and listen because they're going to potentially have to move him anyway because they can't afford everybody. Their owner, Jed York, has already said he's going to write a blank check to Brock Purdy. Way to negotiate out in the open. You're going to reset the QB market, he said. Good luck on that. Good luck. Play in your hand. You're going to give this kid $500+ million. What's that going to look like? Okay, so you got to get rid of somebody. That's very well known. Even inside very logical Niner communities, they say something's got to give. We can't keep everybody. Can't give Ayuk this huge contract extension. Can't give Brock Purdy his money. Can't do all this and all that and keep everybody and keep all these contracts on the books. And Deebo Samuel, there's a benefit of taking a hit now and worrying about some of this later and lessening the blow downstream if they can prevent it and also get Parasol in motion if Parasol's the future. So Deebo's very much, in my mind, still an option. Even if the Niners have shut it down, I don't care what Kyle and John have said. They also said they weren't going to probably trade those guys anyway, and they tried like crazy on draft day to trade both of them. So don't come in here and tell me that Kyle Shanahan and John already shot down because they said, yeah, that ship has sailed to trade those guys. BS. I call cap. Someone comes along and says, I'll take Deebo and I'll give you this offer you can't refuse. They're going to go, okay, we'll do it. Sorry, Deebo. Deebo's already pissed off. Deebo's not having it right now. Why would he? This team is absolutely crapped on him and Ayuk during off seasons, during extension years. Deebo blames them for his bad year. Deebo has given everything to this team. Played running back when all the RBs went down. And they didn't feel the need to extend him early on, and they watched the fan base pick at him. And instead of coming in and saving their wide receiver, going, you know what, the Niner ways to wait, but I can't stand how the fan base is treating Deebo Samuel, and we're going to pay him anyway. Let's just save Deebo right now in the fan base, not create this animosity. What did John and Kyle do? They let the fan base pick at him and create this divide. Deebo didn't come in shape. You can blame him if you want, but he blames the organization. So Deebo's not really all that happy, believe it or not. So he's definitely vulnerable to a trade. The question is, will a team come along and make a trade offer that they can't refuse? I don't know what team is even in the market for a wide receiver. This is why the Niners really shot themselves in the foot and crapped the bed by not having this done earlier. They sleep on everything in the offseason. Let's wait until draft day to try and trade him to the Buffalo Bills. You know that's partly why the Bills kept moving down to get out of round one so that there was a break and they could sleep on it, have discussions all night long, try and get a Deebo trade done. They talked it over. They decided they wanted to just go Coleman and not give up capital and pay a big amount of money to a wide receiver when they can start fresh with Coleman. Josh Allen said, I want Coleman anyway. So they backed off, and the Niners said, shit, we just drafted Parasol. They were going to draft DeJean. The Eagles stole DeJean and absolutely schooled everybody. The Eagles had an A+ draft. If you could give the Eagles 110% out of 100, like extra credit, that's how good their score is in this draft. They smashed the hell out of it. So Najee Harris, on the Najee Harris front, the question you got to ask yourself is, what do the Pittsburgh Steelers need? Pretty much nothing. And I know, Ron, I'll come to you in a second, Ron. Just hang tight for me. Ron Navy's probably pretty excited to hear that, because what team can come along and offer them an offer they can't refuse? I don't know that there are many. The Dallas Cowboys are struggling all around the entire roster. How are they going to offer something that the Steelers can't refuse? So, again, to my point, who are the most vulnerable midseason or preseason trade pieces? It'd be Debo and Najee based on their situation and environment. But the odds of these trades happening post-draft are very low. And injuries usually are required. And they just brought Zeke Elliott in. So I believe this to be true. Clickbait, Cowboys not interested. If the Cowboys aren't interested, then really at this point nobody is. So whether he's a vulnerable piece to be traded or not, I believe there's probably zero market for Najee Harris right now at that price tag. And the Steelers aren't even picking up the phone. They have zero interest in going out there and trying to do a deal. I'm just saying that they would answer the phone at least and say, well, we didn't pick up his fifth-year option for a few reasons, and we'd be tempted if the right offer came along. What do you want? Well, we'll give you a fourth rounder. No, thanks. Like, what do we need? What do we need right now? We got double linemen, double defensive players, double wide receivers, double quarterbacks, double running backs, double offensive coordinators. Because you got Arthur Smith as the coordinator, and you got Mike Sullivan as the real, I think offensive genius that probably is the Wizard of Oz. He's probably the Robert De Niro in Casino, in control of the casino, but changes job positions each offseason so that he doesn't have to actually file for the license, the gaming license. That is Mike Sullivan. He is De Niro. He is Sammy. in the movie Casino, which is one of the best movies of all time, by the way. So there's that report. And then real quickly on these three notes, and then I've got Ron Navy on the phone line. Jonathan Brooks, head coach, Carolina Panthers. Canales saying that versatility in the passing game this season is what he hopes to utilize out of the Jonathan Brooks effect. And Jonathan Brooks, if he can get healthy enough, Breece Hall, you saw how good he did at the end of the year. I think being how young this kid is, young body can rejuvenate and recover very quickly from ACL tears. Any college ACL tears really a non-factor within about a year and a half, like literally a non-factor. Whereas if you're 25 plus, big issue, a lot harder, and you got more damage to the knee. The knee is more, it's older. It's been through a whole lot more damage. So going in and cutting an ACL out and cutting it out, then going in, drilling holes and putting a new ACL in the joint, putting screws in where the bones got to grow into the screws. The screws have holes in the screws so that the ACL then can die because you're using a patellar tendon. You're putting a tendon in as an ACL, a ligament. ACL is a ligament. That's what the L stands for. A patellar tendon is a tendon. So you cut a window out of your patellar tendon, and you cut this window out so it looks a little something like this, right? Your patellar tendon that's going over your kneecap. They cut a piece out. They use that piece. Your patellar tendon slowly grows back and fills that hole and kind of repairs. Almost like if you puncture your ear and you take the earring out, your ear is a hole, but it starts to close in and grow back. That's what happens in your patellar tendon. They take that tendon, then they drill it into your knee, and it dies. And it takes time to turn into a ligament. And then it turns into the form of a ligament. It's harder. It acts as a ligament. It pulls the knee tight. And when you're young, this thing happens like that. When you're 25 plus, it's a lot harder. You're damaging the knee by doing that surgery. That's why if someone has an ACL tear like Tajay Spears should not get an ACL replacement. Tajay Spears has one ACL in one of his knees and no ACLs in the other knee. It would do him damage. You'd be going in and injuring a healthy knee by giving him an ACL because you drill into the joint on one side, drill into the joint on the other, cut his patellar tendon out, or take a dead person's old cadaver ACL and drill that in, put bones in, let it harden, let the atrophy hit the knee, go through the rehab. It's putting damage on the knee. So that's why, if anybody's wondering why Spears has not had an ACL reconstruction, it's not like the ACL fairy can snap their fingers, put an ACL in, and they're good to go. As long as they didn't injure the knee, they're fine. No, it's a whole bigger process than that. This guy probably will have the Breece Hall recovery where mid-season on, he's phenomenal. And I think he's one of the most attractive rookies to take at 5 or 6 overall. Don't listen to the pundits and take him at 8, 9, 10. Benson and Brooks are worth a 6, a 5, a 7 overall rookie pick, and I stand by that 100,000%. So Brooks to the moon. And the fact that his head coach is saying passing game, versatility, that's an every down back, ladies and gentlemen. And that might just be a moon man at the end of the day based on that. Okay. Last 2 pieces of news. Marshawn Lloyd is the handcuff to own in Green Bay. How do I know that? Because guess what? Packers OC just said hopes to play Marshawn Lloyd as much as possible. You don't say that about a third-string player. Obviously, versatility is here too. And so if you own Josh Jacobs, this doesn't make me scared. I'm not scared about usage at all. So don't take that from this. But what you should take from this is that Lloyd has become one of the most important handcuffs in all of fantasy. And you're looking at the handcuff board, my handcuff board, my top handcuffs in order of most important rank. Kyren and Corum, the best, most important handcuff in all of fantasy. Because this guarantees you a Sean McVay volume for 17 straight weeks. And if you don't draft Blake Corum, and I say this every show, just to make sure later on, someone doesn't say, oh, so Corum's got 200 yards in back-to-back, or 150 yards in 2 back-to-back games. How do you feel about that? I feel great because everyone I'm recommending that goes Kyren, who's going to, per game, be the number 1 running back on the ground in yards and probably touchdowns in my view. That's my opinion anyway. I think having this duo guarantees you top 5 running back numbers in a McVay system that always goes 1 RB. It's not a running back by committee. We need Blake Corum to play a 20% role to keep Kyren healthy and efficient. Kyren Williams, 5 yards per carry, so efficient last year, could go to 5.4 if he's doing an 80-20 split instead of a 100-0 split. So efficiency goes up by Corum entering the picture and even contributing a 20% workload divide. So there's that report. And then Joe Burrow is back to throwing. Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow out there on the field. He's thrown before since the injury. That report is hit, but this is the first time he's been visibly throwing the ball out there, looking kind of like his old self in a way. And he said that his rehab hasn't even hampered his offseason training one single bit. So all these internet doctors playing fantasy, you could call me a fantasy football guy playing doctor. I take no offense to that. I feel like I cover injuries better than anybody in this industry. I don't care if I don't have a medical degree. I've been doing this for 25 plus years, specifically fantasy football and NFL related injuries. So I do have a wheelhouse that I work and operate in. I don't know everything about the inner ear or the buttocks. But what I do know and what I do have is a particular set of skills that make me a nightmare for your league mates, skills that I've trained and honed in on over the course of a lifetime to let you know that Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow is back on the field smoking cigars. People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
Get burrowed.
And that is the news, ladies and gentlemen. That is the news in 43 minutes of ranting and raving. What other show brings you daily news in that amount of news in even a 30 or 40 minute congested amount of time is actually, I think, a lot harder than the average bear realizes. I've got my boy Ron Navy on the phone. Ron Navy, what do you hear? What do you say?
Well, I got a bold prediction to make before, but I don't think Harris goes anywhere.
I don't either.
I don't think Steelers do anything with that. But I do got a bold prediction since I got some on tap.
No, Ron, you don't have any on tap. Just kidding. All right, Ron, top super chatter of all time, has kind of a, I don't know. I don't know that there's, as long as Ron isn't dropping them every day, he really isn't limited. I mean, we could actually calculate it out, but Ron's good to go for, he could drop a bold prediction every week. He's paid up on that. So Ron, let me go to the standing board here and let me go ahead and write it down. What do you got? What's your prediction?
You're not going to like it.
Okay.
By week 7, Arizona Cardinals are going to be forced to play their backup QB.
Okay.
You said it yourself. Murray's over that age. He's trying to recover off an ACL, and I don't think he makes it through the season.
Well, but he's already 1 year recovered, though, Ron. It's not like
That's all right. That's my opinion.
Okay, but I'm just making sure you know that he played a full year on, or pretty much a full year on his.
I know.
Okay. All right.
I know.
So today's 5-6. Kyler not starting by what week?
7.
For the season.
Yep.
Week 7 on. Okay. Kyler Murray not
Yep.
starting from what makes you think that though? Like what causes you to drop that one specifically?
Well, there was 2 things. You got talking about how, older people, that damages their knees. Kyler depends on the run and being able to scramble. I don't think he stays healthy. Just kind of like you don't see Cousins staying healthy and Penix taking over and not giving the job back.
Yeah.
Now we really know why. Prediction.
Kyler is 26. He I think he injured his knee in the 24-year-old territory, but tomato. I get what you're throwing down here. Maybe he just turned 25. I forget when he what month he tore it, but I don't know. I respect Ron's take, and I always love both. I love
Kyler
both.
Murray's 26 right now.
Yeah. So it looks like he was probably 25 when he tore it. Year of recovery, 1 year played. I don't know how old he was right when he tore it. How many months?
August 7th is his birthday.
Anyway, so okay, Kyler. So Ron coming in with a little. After all the nice things I said about your Steelers and the monologue, you had to come in and shot on my Cardinals like that.
You shot on my favorite quarterback, saying Penix Jr. just because you want him to be in the starting position. You shot all over Cousins. So hey, tit for tat.
Isn't it Ron? You know what? I didn't even think about that till right now. Ron is so revengeful.
I am.
He's so
you know it.
If I hadn't come in and said anything about Kirk Cousins, Ron wouldn't have dropped that prediction. Hey, Ron,
nope.
can I say this? The times when you could hit some good things. Like you've got a good instinct for certain things. The times that you're wrong, I think, are driven by non-logical, factual. It's always driven off of revenge, and I think I'd stay away from those.
Logical. It is logical.
Well,
you made it logical. You said it right there. Any older players after the age of 25 that get an ACL injury are more.
I was hinting toward running back only on that conversation, but
he is running back because he's always scrambling.
So hey, I'll give you that and say maybe there's more to it for Kyler than it would be for a normal quarterback, but I think this is 100% revenge. And you're just cooking it up on the fly, which is fine.
Ritter's in there.
Ritter. I don't want to catch the Ritter. This goes back to why every team in the National Football League, and I don't want to tout the Steelers after you just sharted all over my Cardinals. This is not me this is me being completely unbiased. That's the way I roll. Okay, I know a lot of people don't think I'm that way. I truly think I'm so. I think I have, but are my biases really wrong, or is it really my passion coming through, Ron? Hold on, real quickly. Let me swing back around real quickly, okay? Let me swing back around real quickly and just say that even as much as I don't want to say a positive thing about your Steelers right now, this is my unbiased, unfiltered take, is that there are 30 teams, including the 31 teams if you include the Chicago Bears, really, for not keeping Fields. But there are 30 teams that absolutely get an F offseason to begin, when everything begins. Like immediately everyone's starting off with an F because they could have got Fields for a 6-round conditional to a 4. And if you say, oh, that's where they wanted him to go, then they'll offer a 4th rounder non-conditional and up the ante, and then the Steelers aren't worried, or the Bears and Poles are not worried about what Fields wants. They're going to say, screw your feelings, we're getting a 4th rounder non-conditional. So the fact that the Cardinals didn't go after Fields to back up Kyler Right there. Everybody that didn't do that deserves an F in my book to begin the offseason. And you got to work your way back into my good graces. What a stupid move by 30 other teams, and even 31 if you include the Bears. Just a stupid move. Instead, the Cardinals trade, and the Cardinals have had an amazing offseason and draft at the sum total when it's all added together, because they had the best draft I've seen in a long time. Maybe since the Eagles and the Cardinals. The Steelers did really good too. Again, I'm biased. I don't want to give you anything right now, Ron, because you just crapped on my Cardinals, but I am, because it's deserving. There are a lot of teams that did good. There's a lot of, but the thing about the Penix Jr. thing is why I think I'm so unbiased with it is, all of this was coming from the beginning. This is all what I've been touting for a while now. And just because Cousins is in his way doesn't mean I'm gonna back off what I really feel about Penix Jr. Like, I know it seems like I'm trying to fit this in, but I'm not.
We all thought, hold on, I got a plane flying over. Let freedom ring. We all wanted Penix Jr. to go to a place where he could start right away.
Atlanta.
That's what we all wanted.
I kind of wanted him in Atlanta before Kirk Cousins was signed. I don't know if you remember that it was Perps and I, when you were saying, Perps, you're not a real, Viking fan. Hold on. You said hold on. You said, Perps, you're not a real Viking fan because you would rather go the route of Penix Jr. versus keep Cousins, because he wanted to at least have a hope that this is the future and that they can get over the hump, because Cousins is great during the season, and then the Vikings kind of fall into paper tiger mode during the playoffs, and he was tired of it. He just wanted to reset it. And so him and I both said we'd rather have, even though you didn't agree, we'd rather have Penix Jr. in Minnesota than Kirk Cousins in Minnesota for the team. And so
once I went to Atlanta, I agreed that I prefer Penix Jr. on Minnesota. I did agree to that after Cousins was signed by Atlanta.
I knew that's a totally irrelevant conversation. That's a totally irrelevant conversation, because what I'm talking to you about is that I preferred Penix Jr. over Cousins on the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to talk about JJM versus Penix Jr. So all I'm saying is I brought this from the beginning, that Penix Jr. is my preference over Kirk Cousins. So you to suggest that it's biased by any means, it might be wrong, Ron. You could say I'm going to be wrong, but it's not biased. It's truly how I've felt from the beginning. Huh?
We weren't talking about how Cousins was going, though.
I know, Ron, but I've been very clear that Cousins was not my first choice for Atlanta.
Cousins. So there we go. Hopefully we'll both be wrong. Murray will be great, and Cousins will be.
Cousins was never my first choice for the Atlanta Falcons, and I was making that abundantly clear all offseason. When he landed there, it was a glorious day, because they've got somebody that's productive. Worried about the Achilles, how old he is. I'd hate to pay him all this money and have him go down and be stuck with Bijan without a real home anymore. Bijan's now a foster kid again. London's now a foster kid again. Pitts is now a foster kid again. No stable home whatsoever. That's what my fear was when it happened, but it was still way better than what we had, right? So you heard me say Aaron Rodgers, Penix Jr. Draft the two of them. Draft Penix Jr. at number 10. That's no different than 8 at the end of the day, and people would have been up in arms about that as well. So this has been my blueprint from the beginning. Like, I wanted there to be security in both of these environments that hold so much fantasy football implications. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Bijan, Pitts, and London. We need double down security in these two spots. Now, granted, the Jets did go after it a cheaper way, but it's not a more secure way. I like Jordan Travis a lot.
You said that your prediction is Cousins will be out in Week 10 because of his ACL. And
no, Achilles.
Penix should take over his Achilles. That's what I said.
You said
because
ACL.
of his Achilles. I said ACL for Murray. But because of his Achilles, and Penix would take over and not look back. That's what you said.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not secure. Yeah, if Cousins were to have a problem, but I'm not wishing that on Cousins.
I'm not wishing that on Cousins at all. I love that Cousins is there, and I'm just saying that the problem, Ron, is this: the moment he has a calf strain at all, the moment he has any sort of injury at all, and they have to be anything from the knee below, they've got to be so ultra conservative. The problem is the moment they shut him down for even a week, 4 days, for an entire practice, it's going to start creating this buzz, and everybody's going to be all about it. And so the problem is Cousins is fighting an uphill battle that it's going to be really hard for him to bust through unless he stays 100% healthy. Hold on. Unless it's not with Aaron Rodgers. If Penix Jr. was drafted to the Jets, then it would be there as well. You're correct. But with Jordan Travis, it's a whole big difference. But if we sit here and we go, the moment Kirk Cousins has anything that pops up, unless they don't even they like redshirt essentially Penix Jr. and keep him away from the ability to even be vaulted up. That's the only way they're going to keep this thing at bay. If Penix Jr. is the number 2 quarterback and Kirk Cousins has to sit out a game, that's an uphill battle that's going to be really hard for him to win, and it's not his fault. This is not anything negative on Kirk Cousins. It's just he's 36, right? 36-year-old QB coming back from an Achilles tear, as the same threat would be there for Aaron Rodgers. Again, if the Aaron Rodgers and Penix Jr. situation was in place, we'd be having this exact same conversation. At some point, Aaron Rodgers is going to have to sit out, and if Penix Jr. is the real deal, like I believe he is, it's going to be crazy.
They're both pocket passers. They don't move around a lot. And so actually the risk goes down because of that. The risk of them re-injuring or getting an injury, it goes down. Because they're not mobile quarterbacks.
It doesn't necessarily go down. It doesn't necessarily go down for Achilles, though, because Achilles aren't. They're still exploding. They're still getting hit. Both these guys tore their Achilles. They're the only 2 quarterbacks that suffered the Achilles tear, and they're non-running quarterbacks. So, I mean, I think we're pretty much proved right there that the 2 players recovering from it are old, which is why they suffered the Achilles injury. The part about the Achilles, that again, I've explained this over and over, Ron, I know you probably heard this, but with the Achilles and patellar tendon specifically, those 2, if you wear down one a certain way, you're probably doing the same damage to that other one in a similar effect. Meaning that Cousins' good Achilles is probably not in the best of shape. My patellar tendon that I tore, I probably am so very susceptible to tearing the other patellar tendon because of the way I jump, run, and land. So Cousins is probably pretty vulnerable, as is Aaron Rodgers, as was Cam Akers, which I predicted like a T to a T. There is a real threat that if there's even a hint of a calf strain based on compensation alone, that all of a sudden they got to shut him down for the week, and then Penix Jr. is out there looking like a marvel. I'm just saying it's an uphill battle. It's not a fair battle.
Murray goes out. He can very easily.
Murray.
How long do you think he compensated on his other ACL?
The revenge. Ron, you're so revengeful. Like. Does your response have to be, well, how much longer till Kyler Murray tears his? Like, why is it why can't this be a debate? But why can't this be a logical debate about the player at hand? Why you really are showing in this conversation, at least, that it's not necessarily all. I'm just saying it's not necessarily about logic when you all of a sudden bring Kyler Murray in and say, how long till Kyler tears his other ACL?
Is it a sensible thing? Yes or no? Yes, he is.
It has nothing to do with what we're talking about, Ron. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. You're trying to bring in Exhibit B that has nothing to do with the case.
You're saying Murray's not as susceptible to re-injury.
I'm not even having that debate right now. I'm talking about Kirk Cousins. Well, number one, Kyler Murray's 26 years old. Number 2, an Achilles tear and an ACL are 2 entirely different injuries. Number 3, the older you are, the more susceptible you are to tearing the other Achilles tendon when you're on the field recovering from.
Player over the age of 25 who gets an ACL injury is more susceptible, does more damage. And you said it yourself.
I said that a running back. No, you're kind of twisting this all up. I was talking about running backs. Kyler Murray's not a running back. You could say touche, bring some of that to the table in argument. But Ron, Kyler Murray is not susceptible to another ACL tear. We're talking about recovery. He's already recovered, Ron. There's no argument as whether Kyler will recover or not. What I was displaying there and talking about is Jonathan Brooks has really very low risk of having any limitations of getting back to form. Kyler's already back up to form. There's no real debate. You can't retroactively argue that Kyler will now deteriorate because there's more likelihood. Ron, there's a more likelihood of Jonathan Brooks not having a problem because he's under the age of 24. But Ron, it doesn't mean because Kyler's above 25 as a quarterback, he's gonna tear his ACL.
What is your stance on Kyler Murray? Is he more susceptible to injury or is he not?
Kyler Murray? No. Ron, my debate is about, can you get back to form? You weren't listening to my Jonathan Brooks conversation, because the Jonathan Brooks didn't say he's more susceptible to injury. That's Kirk Cousins. What I said about Jonathan Brooks is that he's going to have zero trouble getting back to form. That's what I said about the ACL tear. You're trying to combine these two conversations. I didn't say that he was more susceptible to tearing his ACL. Go watch out for Kyler. I said Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL in college. It's easy to come back from that as a baby. You're 19, 20 years old. You tear your ACL, not a big deal. You tear it at 24, 23. It's harder, but you can still do it. You tear it at 25, 26. You can still do it, but it's harder. You do it. You have an injury at you're 36 years old. It's so hard. We'll
see, and hopefully we're both wrong. Move on.
Yeah, I'm not.
So just move on.
Okay. We got some. Bill the Tickler called in and didn't pick up. Bill, call in. Bill, I'm going to be in Vegas. Bill, I'm going to be in Vegas. Bill, call in. Ron, are you coming to Vegas or no?
I'm going to see if I can. I don't know.
Okay. It should be a blast. The Conor McGregor fight is going on that Saturday evening. So I'm going to go watch the Conor McGregor fight down by the Stadium Swim Pool. So that's where I'll be probably hanging out during that Conor McGregor fight. So it's going to be
they're going to show up?
You what?
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing night. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'll be in Vegas on June 28th, Friday, and June 29th, Saturday. And I'll be staying in Vegas during those two nights. And I'll be at the Stadium Swim Circa. They take care of your boy. It's such an amazing place to go, and they're so awesome. I'm going to be promoting the hell out of them. But I'll be there on June 28 and June 29. And the Scott Fish Bowl is why I'm going to stream that during Saturday day. And then Saturday night is the Conor McGregor fight. So that'll be so fun to watch on the huge TV. Like, if anybody's been to a drive-through theater, it's like having a drive-through screen times 5 or 6 or maybe even 7, and then a bunch of other drive-through size screens around it. It's crazy. Like, I can't imagine watching week 1 there. That would be unreal. So anybody wants to join me, June 28, June 29 in Vegas. If you live in Vegas, just have your girl or your significant other drop you off at Stadium Swim and hang out Saturday. I'll be doing my Friday 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Vegas time show at the poolside Stadium Swim Friday night. This is before the big events. And so I'll be there, and that's where Denny showed up. I had like 2 or 3 people show up during that. I was kind of, it's hard to get there and get in there, and I'm only there for like 2 hours, shot right there doing that Friday night live stream. But then I come back and do the great. You what? You what?
Can I walk back to that area, or do you need a special pass?
If you're going to come, if you're really likely to come, I can put you on a list that should be able to get you into the Stadium Swim area. So you go through the casino, you go up the elevator, you get to the Stadium Swim entrance, which is connected to Circa Las Vegas Hotel. So Circa Las Vegas Hotel is here, and then connected to it is Stadium Swim, which is its pool. It's basically like Circus Pool, but it's called Stadium Swim, and there's an entry fee. But I think I can get you on a list if I have enough time to get it to them. But there is kind of a limited amount of like guest spots I can put down, so if you don't think you're going to go, like nobody drop your name and then just hope you can go. But I should be able to put it on the list for the next couple of days, still have that opportunity. So hit me up in a DM, Ron, if you want me to put you on the list. Denny, I'll put Denny on the list. Bill the Tickler's on the line. Real quickly, let me go to Bill. Bill, are you going to come hang out at Stadium Swim?
I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best. If I hold down the job I currently have when you come to town, I will have those days off. Yeah.
Where are you working now? Is it Steakhouse again?
No, I'm back at a Japanese restaurant.
Okay.
But it's one of the longest standing Japanese restaurants in Las Vegas.
Okay.
But it has hibachi, so they have steak, so you don't have to eat too much seafood, Smitty. But I know your time is actually more limited than it was last time, so I understand.
Nor do I want to show up.
Make it out here for a dinner service with me. But I did want to extend on that note. I wanted to extend I did catch a live stream. I listened to it, but I wasn't able to chime in or do any or even text or. But the other night, Ron Navy, I know he was busting your stones about sleeping on the floor. Him and Denny and sleeping bags on the floor in your hotel room when you come here. But I did want to extend I have a guest room for Ron Navy.
Whoa. Whoa, look at that. Yeah, let me just make it abundantly clear. Like, it's not that I don't want to open up my room to people. It's just I'm convincing Miss Smitty to go on. This is like my way of giving her a vacation. And I can't really offer that as a. I can't offer it as a.
I'm just thankful that Miss Smitty convinces you not to let your fantasy football community in the room overnight.
I think she's this would destroy her idea of a vacation if she had to walk over Denny and I'm sorry, Ron, I didn't know you were in there soaking your feet.
I was joking around when I said that.
Well, no, I know, but I wanted everybody to know I'm not a callous man. I just, Miss Smitty is expecting this to be vacation.
Speaking of you not being callous, so you're not the callous on Ron Navy's feet. I'm sorry.
Soak them.
Yet, Ron Navy, I will invest at Costco at some Epsom salt for you if you do stay the night here.
I think his soaking is for pain though, not for calluses though. Just so you know, Bill.
Amen to that.
Okay.
I know. No, the callus thing, you brought that up. So technically,
I just said I'm not a callous man. I wasn't speaking of Ron's feet.
I know. I just cut off the
Bill.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, Bill's offering his room to Ron Navy and to Denny if they come down. Okay.
Well, I'm offering the front porch to Denny, but we can talk about that later.
Can Denny sleep on the porch?
I'm offering the front porch. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Denny, you can sleep on the porch. If you're listening, Ron can sleep in the guest room.
I'm just saying. There's been, Ron Navy dropped the biggest bomb ever. Been apart about 2.5 years, but Ron Navy and Ron. I pick apart everything, and Ron Navy are usually on point. But Kyler Murray is he's that sneaky, like, if you get him now in Dynasty and some late round on do Dynasty.
Yeah.
But for the next 3 years, Ron Navy, usually I understand with the ACLs, and I'm more worried about somebody like Aaron Rodgers and those injuries. But his youth and athleticism, he could be sneaky, win people leagues for the next 3 years when everybody thought, oh no, he'll never recover. Kyler Murray is very dangerous.
Yeah.
On the plus side.
I like him.
On the plus side.
He knows, and everybody knows I am vengeful, so
he is.
I'm protective of cousins, and so yeah.
So
hey, Ron, can you pretend tonight? Can you, Ron, put earmuffs on real quick? Hey, Bill, start attacking start attacking.
Wait,
Hold on, Bill, listen, Bill, we got little time. Bill,
Earmuffs. Wait, Ron.
Bill, listen
Ron.
to me. We got little time.
Ron.
Bill, shut up. Bill, listen. Attack me and tell me Kyler Murray's getting hurt. Let's see if Ron defends him. Go. Ron, take your earmuffs off.
I think Kyler Murray just got a text message and he just injured both Achilles and a hamstring.
What? You trying to kick a man while he's down?
I mean, he does have a fragile glass-like complex about him.
Ron, you gonna take that?
But it's been hidden so well by Cliff Kingsbury because when
Ron,
you're a 24-year-old man and your coach is 3 years old.
Ron,
Ron,
you should put a bold prediction up. Hey, Ron, put a bold prediction up that Kyler Murray has an amazing year, and then you're gonna smash the board. You're gonna hedge your bets and win.
That's my bet.
Kyler Murray's gonna have MVP season while Ron Navy's he's gonna be out by week 7. He's gonna win one way or the other.
I did that to counteract your thing for Cousins because I'm protective of Cousins.
You are.
I hope it doesn't happen to either one.
There you go. Remember when you said, Ron, don't act like you didn't say this. Remember when you said you hope Marvin Harrison Jr. gets hurt because his ADP's too high? Marvin Harrison started going at 15, 16, and Ron goes, I hope he gets hurt because he's going too high.
Hey, we all can't. I'm not perfect. Hey, Bill, do you have IG? You have an Instagram account?
I do not, Ron. No.
Hey, Bill, email me and I'll get the email to Ron. Hold on, I got to read these. Let's do with that offline. But Bill, email me. Go to thefantasyfootballshow.com. Click contact us at the bottom. Email me. Give me your email. Obviously, your email that way, and I'll get it to Ron, and then you guys can communicate.
Actually, Smitty, you got my number. Just give my number to Bill.
Do I still have? I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually,
I have one of your other numbers, Smitty, that you and I. But I text. Hey, I text him stuff about Ron.
Okay.
Like, hey,
Yeah. Send me your. I'll send me what you want me to send to Ron, and I'll send it to him. All right. Hold on. Overcome dropping a $20 wad. Overcome, you still here? And Calvin Krim dropping this $5 hauler. What's worse than an F grade? Steelers might keep Fields on the bench all season. I vote for a giant poop emoji. I mean, Calvin's clearly, not loving the Steelers, and this is all bias. This is a biased take because they had an outstanding freaking, draft and offseason. But I will say, Justin Fields won't be kept on the bench because I don't believe Russell Wilson's got what it takes. I really don't. And having Russell Wilson looking over his shoulder makes me feel like he's going to fold at some point. But you never know. I mean, maybe Russell Wilson just needed a new change of scenery. It's very possible. And I at least leave that open door, but I think my initial assessment is that I don't think Russell Wilson's the same guy, and I think this pressure of Fields behind him, similar to the Penix Jr. pressure, the pressure of Penix behind Cousins is going to be too much to overcome. Okay, pause, double pause, triple pause on that one. Overcome, $20 hauler. Yo, I haven't been as faithful this offseason. That's for damn sure. I'm going to say it right now, Overcome. I haven't seen you here in a while, but the best way to remedy that is a $20 hauler, young man. Let's drop that $20 hauler dance.
Alert. Super chat alert.
And on that note, he says, I blame my 6-month-old son. That's a good excuse. What are your thoughts on approaching the draft in a startup dynasty league I'm commissioning? It's so hard to give somebody vague advice on that. Best player available, number one. Number two, I would say, look, I can't even tell you wide receiver. I would say my best advice is to try and come out balanced. So running back, wide receiver, running back, if best player available allows it, because it gives you the most flexibility to not force anything the rest of the way. However, am I loving the idea of Gibbs and Breece Hall together and then drafting DK and Devontae Smith and then getting, AR5 and Burrow or something crazy like that, I love that. That's a great start. But Breece Hall is probably going higher than that ability to get him at the 12-13 turn. In best ball and redraft, Hall and Gibbs are falling to the 11, 12, 13 territory on more occasions than I would like to admit that my eyes have seen. But at the same time, it's great. It's amazing news. But I will say that, like, you know, you're able to get Marvin Harrison Jr. That is such an amazing move in a dynasty because I think he's the number one wide receiver. So that's a great move. In Dynasty, I think he's the number one wide receiver. I think Justin Jefferson's at a discount right now. Very, very good value, even though I'm worried about what's going on there. We saw him go at 11 and 12 in a couple of best ball drafts recently. I don't know where his ADP is going to level out. The support and belief in J.J. McCarthy is not what a lot of people thought it would be. It's similar to the kind of concern I have, but it seems to be affecting a lot of drafts. So we'll see how far and how long JJ stays down. But in general, kind of hard to give you this advice. I would say consume a lot of, you know, youthful players you think will play for a long time, but also don't be afraid in the middle rounds to grab the Henrys, grab the players like Kupp to also accent what you got going on versus taking some random stab at a younger player. So you'll see Kupp and Eckler and those guys fall really, 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 really far. And I think that's a real attractive play. And then also Achane and Kyren will probably take some downtick in dynasty value because of the draft selections, but you just cuff Corum to Kyren and you've got one of the best second-round dynasty picks you can find. And Kyren falls to round 3 in a dynasty, and you're drafting Corum a little higher. That'll offset that higher cost of Corum in a dynasty startup and give it back to you with the fall in Kyren Williams. But Kyren and Corum are probably the safest top 5 running back in dynasty when you really think about that approach. Thank you so much, Overcome. Was Overcome here? Yeah, he is. Overcome, appreciate you. Overcome. All right, let me get around the phone line. We've danced around about a couple other topics. I want to get back to football. Sebastian's been waiting a while, then Josh, then Scott, then back to Ron, then back to Bill. Let's go to Sebastian. You're live.
Hey, Smitty, I'm just tuning in. I saw your title just in 5 seconds in a nutshell. Are we worried about Tank Dell or not?
We are worried a little bit just because the news report today said that it didn't clarify where he got shot, and it said they're still saying things like we expect him to make a full recovery. That's not something that you should be hearing at this stage in it. If it was a minor wound, like a flesh wound, they wouldn't even be saying
they would have said it by now.
I don't think they would have said anything anymore. It'd be like, Tank Dell is nothing. He's fine. Like, what are you talking about? But the fact that they're saying he'll make a full recovery, the only thing I can make sense of is that it's being reported wrong, and they're still talking about his leg. And they're just saying, look, this put a pause on his rehab. He's still going to make a full recovery, and everything's going to be fine. I believe there's still an opening for that to be the storyline that's being misconstrued. No one's saying that he got injured or shot in a more serious place, but they're not letting us know where he got shot. So part of me is wondering if it's like a hamstring or, you know, a calf or a bicep or a hand or something that has to be rehabilitated. Otherwise, why not just say, hey, you know, he was shot in the butt in the meaty part of the rear end, and he's going to be fine. Like, it's not even a big deal anymore. Why are we hearing he'll be fine, he'll be completely recovered and be ready for week 1? I just don't know what we're dealing with. So my whole thing is there's no clarity. We're speculating. We're guessing. We're maybe guessing wrong, but maybe pump the brakes on some sort of reaching of drafting Tank Dell is kind of what my message is today. Don't be afraid to draft him in the 4th round, but maybe right now in certain spots, not across the board. Like 4th round Tank Dell values may be worth 1 out of every, 6, 7, 8 drafts. You know what I mean? Like you're not taking them in like 30 or 40% of your leagues at 4th round value if you don't know what the hell's going on, which might be nothing. Yeah. But why are we not hearing anything? Why are we not being told where he got
him in like 40% of my league?
Yeah,
that's all I was asking.
Anyway, okay, Sebastian, hang tight. I'll come back to you. Let me go over to Scott, and then I'll go over to Josh, and then to Ron. Scott, you're live.
All right, I'll follow on YouTube. I'm gonna hang up right now.
All right, later. Scott.
Hey, Smitty.
What's up, Scott? How you doing, pal?
I'm doing all right, man. Hey, Ron, I got to talk to you, man. How's your wife doing? Hello?
She
guess
she
you don't want
passed
to talk.
away.
Oh, no. I am so
Yeah.
sorry, brother. I didn't know. I am so sorry, man.
No, you're
Wow. Oh, I'm so
Pra-
sorry. I
prayers
didn't
up.
hear about that, brother.
Yeah, prayers up for Miss Navy, guys.
Yeah, prayers up to you, Ron. Man, you know, I love you. And after that, I really don't know if I want to talk about what I was called in about. But anyway, I'm going to. How old are you, Ron?
55.
You're 55?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you should know then, more so even than some of these other guys, you know, that when you start getting some age on you, man, things just start falling apart. And
Yep.
at 36 years old, I'm sorry to tell you, man, I think Cousins' career's done.
Oh, jeez. I didn't think
I
it was
really
going in
do.
this direction.
Well, I'm sorry, man, but I got to, because
No,
at 36 years
fine.
old, tearing his Achilles, he's gonna tear his other Achilles before it's over with. It's
No, I
just
don't
gonna
think
happen.
so.
I mean, I do, and
Hey.
I'm gonna say a prayer for him that it doesn't happen. But logically, it's bound and determined to. You add another 10 years to Kyler Murray's age, and Kyler Murray's was just an ACL, and I agree with whoever said it. I believe Kyler Murray's going to be a beast for the next 3 years.
Smitty and
Maybe 4 or
and
5.
Bill the Tickler. I just want to input who said that.
Yeah, there you go. But
hey-
anyway,
hey-
I hope Cousins does good, man. But
Hey,
I just
Scott,
don't-
Scott, are
I
you
just don't see it because
Scott?
What?
Real quickly,
Listen to me.
yeah. Real quickly, Scott, how's your health?
Supposedly shrinking, so it's still good news, but it's still there. But I'm still here too, so.
All right. Well, prayers up for Scott as well. Scott's going through something, and prayers up for Miss Navy. Let's leave the Cousins thing alone at this point. But thank you, Scott, for calling in, and the phone line's always
fine.
open to you, pal.
No problem.
Appreciate you. Drop
All
a
right,
prayer
brother. Thank
emoji
you.
for.
Hey, Ron, again, I'm really sorry, brother. I didn't know. I apologize, man. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry about your wife too, man. I really am.
You're
Man,
all
that's
good.
just a real bummer. But God bless you, brother. Thanks, Smitty.
She gave me signs. So she came back and gave me signs. So I'm good.
All right, bro.
All right, Scott, call in. Keep us updated on what you're going through too. All right, later, Scott. Appreciate you. Let me go.
Bro, thank you.
Let me go over to Josh. Josh, you're live.
Yo, what's up, Smitty? Hey, you heard me word on this Joe Burrow news where I guess the guy said I got a little group chat with the guys, and they know I'm a dynasty owner for Burrow, so they're always giving me shit when he's injured. You heard anything about
Him throwing
the
footballs
risk
today?
never going to be the same?
I already addressed this at the beginning of the show. He's out throwing footballs. He's on the field. There's a bunch of doctors playing fantasy that are trying to just talk about this from that perspective, right? Like, don't worry about that. Like, don't let people run their mouth on Joe Burrow never being the same. We heard Brock Purdy wouldn't be the same too, or that this is some experimental potential bridge that they're putting in versus doing a full Tommy John. And like, I mean, I wouldn't even consider those reports to be. Those are people totally speculating. Do they even know the exact extent of his surgery? Were they actually there? Did they actually know how much exact damage was done? Did they see it when it was opened up? Like, come on. Like, there's a lot of people trying to use case studies of this player or this person was never fully the same range of motion because they had this surgery. This is a professional athlete getting the best surgery and surgeons and rehab, out there. So I'm not worried about it at all. Those are speculative, like I said, doctors playing fantasy. And this is not coming from any report from the team. It's not coming from Joe Burrow's camp. Not that they'd want to make something like that public anyway, to be honest with you. But, like, these are people saying, this injury, I can tell you he'll never be the same. Okay. Don't worry about it, bro.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, all right, later, Josh. Back to Ron Navy, then back over to Bill, and then Young celebrating his 10-month membership. Thoughts and prayers for the Miss Navy and Miss Scott families. Thank you for dropping that. What else you got, Ron? Anything else on today's news? Any predictions on Dak?
I think Dak will be fine. I think they'll get it done. No, I don't. Just people out there that just don't worry. It's good. I've been on the other side of things. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to act. Don't worry about it, Scott. Don't worry about it. I'm praying for you, buddy, and everything's good. She gave me signs, and it lightened my heart. God is great. So, yeah, that's all I need to say.
All right. Well, appreciate you sharing that, and prayers up again for the Navy family and to Scott. Bill, you got anything about what do you think is going to happen with Dak? Give me a prediction, Bill. Give me an actual prediction. Don't dance around.
Well, a prediction. So I guess the data that I've been allowed to last year, I loved CeeDee Lamb, and he helped me win a championship. This year I'm feeling that's just not. I haven't magitated towards that team and drafting and thinking about my one redraft team. And I want to love him, but he was gold last year, Mr. Lamb, and Dak found his way to the top. But I'm feeling quarterback wise, I'm feeling Stroud.
Okay.
I'm feeling Stroud so hard. I know that's up. Smitty, can I end on one note? I always appreciate you taking my call, and I called in the fantasy style tonight. And it took another turn while I was listening with Scott, and then of course his question to Ron. And any recollection you have of you and I, talking when we met, I had not similar, but different, but understanding recollections of, heartache. And I just, I didn't expect that. I've heard Ron lately, past few months, happy and that was kept abreast, and I understand that. But the fact that, that this community is as strong as it is, and it starts with you and it trickles down. And I just really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Bill. And looks maybe Bill and Ron Navy are going to be like, having some sort of party, some sort of fantasy football draft party, let's say, in Vegas, because Bill's opening up his guest room to Ron. They might allow Denny to sit on the porch or sleep on the porch. Don't worry, he won't be there long. He'll show up for 10 minutes and then he'll vanish. So that'll be interesting. Bill, I'll pass the info on to Ron.
There's another
Thanks,
one
Bill.
that if there's another one out there in the community that needs a safe passage or
Safe
a little shelter under the rain. Mr. Travis Rowe is always welcome out here as well.
Yeah, he's being selective, but he's definitely opening his door. I like.
No,
it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. What?
I'm just not taking up your airtime, Smitty.
Yeah. All right, hang tight. Let me go to Michael. Michael, you're live. What can I do for you, Michael?
Hey, Smitty, how you doing?
I'm good, bro. Breaking news.
Good.
Breaking
Hey,
news.
Well, I want to apologize. I'm not keeping up with things, but I'm doing a Dynasty rookie draft right now, and I'm sitting on the 10th pick. They're doing like an extended draft thing, so there's no rush to make a pick. But right now I've got it's a Superflex Dynasty League, and I've made the semifinals for 3 straight years. So I'm trying to break through that barrier. Do you want to run through the roster, or do you want to tell me who's available?
I mean, as quickly as you can. What's your question? You're on the clock. You want to know who to pick, or?
Yeah, well, so Superflex League, I've got the QBs went pretty quick, but Drake, May, and McCarthy are still there. And then Jonathan Brooks is still there. And then for wide receivers, they got McConkey, Coleman, Pearsall, Leggett. Any of those guys stick out to you?
Who are your quarterbacks? Who are your quarterbacks in the Superflex?
I've got Hurts. And I traded away Murray last season for Kyron. But I've got Hurts, Geno, Dobbs, Mullins, and Minshew. So I could use another quarterback.
To be honest with you, man, who's your other backup besides Geno, or your other quarterback? Who's your backup to Geno? Geno's your super flex.
I've got Minshew as my other starter.
Is Howell available, or is Howell gone? I'm sure he's gone, right? Sam Howell, is he? Yeah, is he does somebody own him?
On the waivers?
Yeah.
Basically anyone who has is gone.
I don't know. McCarthy and May's probably a very safe pick, I guess. That's not a bad move. But at the end of the day, man, it's a super flex. You don't have to start two quarterbacks. And I'm not saying that's smart. The average person winning a super flex is not starting one quarterback. I'm just going to say that right now. But doesn't mean you can't. Doesn't mean you can't develop it in ways like I've said, like trade for Fields, who's a backup right now. Draft Joe Milton and draft, these backup quarterbacks that are getting positioned into good spots, and just develop the position in a way that, all of a sudden you got Brock Purdy. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I choose to go about it versus forcing it. May's not bad, though. I don't mind May at all here. I think it's a pretty good pick. If Benson were there, Benson is my number 4 or 5 overall. Doesn't mean I draft him there, but he traditionally goes about 9, 10, 11, 12. And I venture to say Benson's still available. And when you listed off everybody, you didn't even mention Benson. So you could almost trade in. My guess is he's still available, right, Benson?
Oh, yeah. Benson was actually the first running back taken.
Really? That sounds like a smart group you're with then, because I've seen Benson go at 10, 11, 12 like clockwork, and people are just not paying attention, in my opinion, because I think Benson's going to be electric. But I think Brooks also is, but he's coming off the injury. I'd just prefer Benson. I would probably take – and what are your wide receivers real quick? You got Kyron at running back. Who else do you got at running back and wide receiver? Real quickly.
My wide receivers are a little older. I've got CD, Lamb, Tyreek, and Devontae. And I've got Pickens.
It's fine. Who cares? It's great. You got great.
Pickens, Michael
Wilson,
yeah. Shaheed.
Penix Jr. round 2. He's not going to last. He's not available. Penix Jr. is not available, Matto. He would have listed him. Penix Jr. is not available, is he?
Penix Jr. Is he available? He's a receiver.
Is he a receiver? What are we doing here? Michael, you did apologize at the beginning. You did warn me. You said, I haven't been paying attention. Michael Penix Jr. is the quarterback in Atlanta.
Penix Jr. is available.
Okay. Matto was correct. What other pick do you have? Can you get 2 picks right here?
And it's not a snake, so I'm waiting 12 picks to pick again.
It's still very smart to take Jonathan Brooks here. Who's your other running back? You got Kyron, and who's your other running back?
I've got Kyron, ETN, Javonte, Pierce, Charbonnet.
You know what? I probably say Penix Jr. is the smartest play. Brooks is the highest risk, highest reward, considering the quarterback component here, and given how weak you are. But Penix Jr. is, I think, a very strong long-term option. Even if Ron's right this year, Penix Jr. doesn't hit the field, he's still a guy that they're grooming to be the future. So it's a very good move, and he's got an amazing offense. So I'm going to lean Penix Jr. in terms of safety. But do I like Jonathan Brooks? If you want to take a gamble, sure. But Penix Jr. is probably the way to go. Now, May's going to play right away. Or he should. I mean, actually, they've said they don't know, actually. I think he earns the job, or he plays really quickly. But Penix Jr., as my prediction earlier in the show, which is completely guesswork, I think Penix Jr. is in there pretty quickly, too, in terms of, mid-season, etc. Week 10, by week 10, week 7, 8. Because all it's going to take is, as I mentioned earlier, is one small injury, not even like a devastating injury before Penix gets a shot. And then it's hard to dial him back. The only scenario I see Penix Jr. going in, like if Cousins were to have a calf injury, and they say calf injuries lead to Achilles tears, so we got to shut him down for a week, is if Penix Jr. goes out and blows it and doesn't do well, then guess who's coming right back in? Kirk Cousins. So there's that. That could happen. But I would take Penix Jr. That's me, bro. But if you want running back, Jonathan Brooks is fantastic. Coleman's good too, but I would definitely say give me. And I'm assuming Daniels is gone, bro. I don't know how much information you're leaving out because you didn't say Penix Jr.
Yes, Daniels was taken the third pick.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Penix Jr. is pretty good, bro. That's a good in a super flex. Drake. A lot of people like Drake May in the chat too, so it's not bad. I just think you got an amazing offense for Penix. All right, Michael. Appreciate you. What?
What about receivers, just second or third round guys that are kind of sleeper guys that you like?
Ricky Parasol's interesting. If we go to thefantasyfootballshow.com rankings where you can get your year-round fantasy football fix, you can look at super rookie rankings, which are rookies and sophomores together. I coined that many years ago, and now people use that all over the place. It's just a way to look at Dynasty and nail down who the young players are. And so super rookie rankings are one of my most popular rankings. But if I narrow it down to just rookie and I have super flex, non-super flex, redraft, Dynasty, rookie, super flex, I got all those rankings. So go check it out at thefantasyfootballshow.com. But I'm looking at my rankings right now, and I'd say Malachi Corley, the Jet wide receiver that is potentially the next Deebo Samuel. You got Xavier Legette in Carolina. You got Luke McCaffrey in Washington, which is a deeper stash. Ricky Parasol, A.D. Mitchell in Indianapolis. Ricky Parasol is in San Francisco, A.D. Mitchell. And then a deep guys, Javon Baker in New England. They drafted Polk and Baker. Baker was the second drafted wide receiver, but he kind of feels like the dog. Very, very dog mentality, very, very St. Brown attitude. And will the talent match up? Some people like him. He's very popular in deep dynasty circles. Javon Baker.
Cool.
He's starting to gain momentum. All right, Michael, appreciate you. Call in tonight. We'll be drafting tonight. All right, later.
Sounds good, Smitty. Later.
Bill the Tickler, final thoughts. You're on mute, Bill.
You're on mute, brah.
Really?
I was in the middle of something that you can thank me later that I didn't broadcast. So, nonetheless, okay. Quick speed round, Schmitty.
Why am I gonna thank you later?
Okay. One team redraft. So, Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson?
One team. I got one choice. Bijan. I hate making a choice. That's like asking, pick a kid. Pick one of your.
I know.
But
it's okay. But Smitty, I will ask. But then, so the more scientific side of it, I asked you 27 times before I actually redraft. So then I'll do the math from there, from your answers.
All right.
So the next pick, Puka Nacua or Garrett or Wilson.
Probably Puka's safer. Puka's safer, but I love both of them. They're neck and neck. Puka's going higher, probably for good reason because he's safe. But Garrett Wilson, there's a chance he's absolutely insane. But from a redraft perspective, they're very close. I worry more about. I don't know which one I worry more about because Stafford's not long term. Aaron Rodgers isn't long term. So
deeper dive is somehow, somewhere with around week 4 to 6, Stafford and Rodgers go down. So who's the backup to Stafford? Who's backup to Rodgers? And then where do we go from there?
Well, Aaron Rodgers has the rookie behind him, but he's currently, his name is Jordan Travis. He's a good draft selection, but
so who's behind Stafford? According
to the depth chart, they have Well, they have multiple. I mean, it's tough to know. Jimmy Garoppolo, but Stetson Bennett is still like in flux. Like this is a guy they drafted that they thought could be the replacement, and Stetson Bennett had some weird like I don't even know really what was going on with him. It was like he just couldn't play football at this moment in time. I don't even know if they've really clarified everything. I kind of forget. But Jimmy Garoppolo is the backup. And that is it sucks because the two teams that I wanted Jimmy Garoppolo and Ritter to not go to, because I wanted them to get Fields. Like I thought Kyler and Fields, Stafford and Fields would have been Jimmy Garoppolo. Garbage.
Well, you said Garoppolo and you said sucks. I would say Garoppolo. My word would be.
All right. Last question, Bill. I got to go. Last question.
Your question or mine?
Last question, Bill. Stop tickling yourself.
Actually, I can't even do that anymore. Smitty, love you, buddy.
All right. Hey, thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Bill the Tickler, everybody. All right, Bill, you better be in Vegas or at the Stadium Swim if you can.
I'm right here right now.
I know. All right. Bill the Tickler. Bill the Tickler. Later, Bill.
Send me that info.
Yeah, he I think he already did. Ron Navy, final thoughts.
No. I just hope that we're both wrong. That's all. I want us both to be wrong. But I gotta protect my guy.
Ron will not allow Kirk Cousins to go down without taking down Kyler. He can't have it. It has to be they both stay healthy.
Hey, you took one of my. You know how I feel about Cousins, and you did it anyway.
I'm gonna have to put. I'm gonna have to put a restraining. I'm gonna have to put a restraining order on you against Kyler if something happens to Cousins and Kyler hasn't gone down or anything. You're gonna be a little bit dangerous, I think, being around Kyler.
I know the first message I'll get from you will be, "Sorry, man."
They'll be able to find Kyler because you'll see 4 bodyguards and you won't be able to see Kyler at all. They'll just be like he'll be down. They'll just cover him up. All right, later, Ron. Appreciate you.
Later, Smitty. Bye, chat.
Later, Ron. Okay. On that note.
I'm a Cardinal, hey, I'm a Cardinal. 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 The Cardinals look to be rising, and MHJ is your king.
Hi. What would you like? Footballs, please. Lots of footballs, please.
Coming up.
He's Marvin, he's 11 feet tall, and he loves to consume the football. He's Kyler, he's 4 feet tall, but starving Marvin will answer the call. They're Kyler and Marvin.
Hey Chan. Hey Chan is the man. His haters call him small.
This goes out to Zastro.
He is 9 feet tall.
Chan is the man.
Your Bijan card has been revoked.
Monday through Friday, live whenever big news breaks. Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Every single Monday through Friday. Rain or shine. No voice. Sick. Christmas Eve. Doesn't matter. Only Christmas Day would we really even dare to take off an 8 p.m. show. But, I'd probably do the midnight show. So, 365 a year unless Christmas falls on a weekday, and then it's 364 and a half, baby. That's how we roll. That's how Dad did it. That's how America does it. And it's worked out pretty good so far. Also, we draft at essentially midnights. We're live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Live when big news breaks, like we did earlier today, and live most midnights at midnight Eastern. And that link to the Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty is right here. So click it. $10 minimum. They'll double, or actually, I'm sorry. Here's the new thing they're offering for code Smitty. Code Smitty. Enter code Smitty to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Just for signing up, you got the ability to potentially get that. So hit the link, sign up, draft with us tonight. I'll see you all later.
Get braced.